island of Lanzarote, which extends over an area of 807 square kilometers, is of volcanic origin. This island rose from the ocean some 25 million years ago as a result of the accumulation of material from repeated eruptions. The area of Timanfaya National Park we are now visiting, within the confines of the Fire Mountain, is located in the southeast of the island and comprises but a small part of the 172 square kilometers covered by volcanic debris during the eruptions of the 18th and 19th centuries. Between 1726 and 1730, frequent earthquakes and loud underground rumblings caused panic among the population of the interior, who fled, seeking refuge in Giza and Arrecife. The eruption took place towards the end of the summer of 1730, on the evening of the 1st of September. The events that then occurred were recorded in the manuscripts of an exceptional witness, the priest of Yaitse, Don Andres Lorenzo Corbello, who wrote, "Between 9 and 10 o'clock in the evening, the earth suddenly opened near Timanfaya, 2 leagues from Yaitse. During the first night, an enormous mountain arose out of the heart of the earth. The flames, which came out of its apex, went on burning for 19 days. This signaled the beginning of the most important period of volcanic activity in the history of the Canary Islands. It lasted for 6 years, with phases of varying intensity, during which streams of molten lava registering 800 degrees centigrade and enormous showers of ashes destroyed every last vestige of life." Wide rivers of molten lava flowed through fractures which opened at the base of many of the volcanoes which originated during the eruptions. The Virgin's Mantle is the most emblematic ornito, or small oven, in the Fire Mountains. These structures form when the accumulation of gases in the tunnel interiors, through which the lava flows, is such that they fracture the roof, causing the emission of incandescent materials and gases under great pressure.
rocks.
Oh, the lichen.
It's a lichen.
It's a lichen. First life that appears on top, you know. It's
See?
actually called a disintegrator because of it's in charge of creating soil. Fits itself with humid water, and it has an acid. That acid goes into the rock. But it works according to the amount of water that can receive, so it becomes very slow.
Timanfaya eruptions belong to the fissure category, which means an enormous fissure several kilometers long opens up, allowing vast amounts of lava to emerge in the form of molten streams. This lava fills up depressions in the ground, leveling out the terrain to leave an almost horizontal surface. Cones form from the accumulation of volcanic material around emission areas. Lava flows dominate the landscape, despite the sight of large amounts of cones and numerous eruption exits. An endless amount of lava tongues sprout from craters which join up, intermingling with each other to form an immense sea of lava, which occupies an entire quarter of the central part of the island. The lava flows stretch all the way from the volcanoes to the distant coastline, reaching up to 20 kilometers in length at certain points. Upon entering the sea, they caused gigantic columns of vapor to rise, the lava mass forcing the waters to recede, thus considerably increasing the surface area of Lanzarote. Whenever people believed that the fires in the volcanoes were dying out, new fissures opened up and the eruptions regained their former intensity. This was recorded by the priest of Yaitse as follows. On the 18th of October 1730, 3 new openings formed on top of Santa Catalina and from other outlets, from which thick smoke emerges and spreads over the entire island. At the same time, huge quantities of lava and ash are being scattered over the surrounding countryside. The explosions that followed this phenomenon, together with the intense darkness produced by masses of ashes and smoke covering the whole island, caused the inhabitants of Yaitse to take flight several times. The lava streams and showers of volcanic grains totally destroyed around 30 hamlets, besides causing serious damage to another 20 small villages. Large areas under cultivation were also destroyed, together with crops, barns, water catchments, pasture lands and livestock. Inhabitants of the affected area were gradually losing hope until they finally left, moving to other parts of the island or even further afield. It is estimated that almost half of the population of Lanzarote had emigrated only 5 months after the eruptions began. At one stage it was even suggested that the entire island be evacuated. This part of the island, which consisted of small, isolated and thinly populated hamlets extending over the entire region, suffered complete devastation. Their names were Tingafa, Mancha Blanca, Santa Catalina, Peña Palomas, Maretas, San Juan, Jaretas, Timanfaya, Festina, Rodeo and Mazo. centuries later, life pulsates in the midst of the seas of lava and continues to expand. More than 800 species of animal life and plants have been noted within its confines, mostly terrestrial, but some in the sea. Organisms that live directly on the rocks are birds, lizards, and above all, various species of lichens, besides some unusual nocturnal insects that feed on microscopic particles carried by the wind. These are principally beetles and crickets, which may be similar to the pioneer creatures which made their home on the island when Lanzarote emerged from the sea millions of years ago. The largest known form of animal life is the gira vulture, which feeds on carrion and nests in the craters of the volcanoes of the fire mountains. The smallest is a tiny cave-dwelling insect measuring less than 1 millimeter in length. Very fluid lava flows poured from the cones of the volcanoes, which spread out till reaching the coast. Some of the immense streams of molten lava flowed through subterranean channels, allowing us to see the red and black colors of the lava. Petrified stalactites and stalagmites stand as mute witnesses to the burning flows of lava. gives the impression of a desert where aridity and temperature fluctuations of 20 degrees between day and night would make it almost impossible for animal life to exist. All one sees are small succulent plants or thorn bushes in the Valley of Tranquility landscape, where time seems to have stood still under the pressure of the intense heat. Volcanic grains are the most predominant of all materials emitted during the eruptions, whose texture contrasts with that of the magma seen in the sea of lava. Only a minimum of plant life takes root in these areas, where even lichens are very rare. Which we now find ourselves was the epicenter of the eruptions and is 525 meters high at its summit. This volcano was covered with slag and ashes from the 18th century eruptions, but at its crest one notices that the surface of the older section is not completely covered up by the more recent lava. Such areas are known as islotes, islets, and are home to much plant and animal life which survived the volcanic catastrophe, gradually expanding into the newly created substratas with the true eagerness of the colonizer. This complex structure was created after emissions shot out from dozens of different openings along its length. Eruptive fissures opened at the base of the volcanic massif, through which numerous streams of molten lava flowed. From the epicenter of the fault, volcanoes of great sculptured beauty extend eastwards and westwards, such as the Corazoncillo, considered one of the most spectacular examples of the entire Timanfaya area. As we see, it consists of a ring-shaped cone with a single central crater more than 500 meters in diameter and 170 meters in depth. The floor of the crater is 100 meters deeper than the external base of the structure. tranquility of these chaotic mountains, imposing craters and deep calderas, is absolute by day. No sign of life, except for lichens blanketing the rocks, whose coloring enhances the black lava. This changes at night when millions of insects scramble among the rocks, hunting for food in the form of organic matter transported by the wind.
¿Cuál? ¿En serio?
As there is no earth, there is practically no plant life, except in a few isolated spots where yellow dust has accumulated as a result of dust storms in the distant Sahara. These occasionally cloud the atmosphere above Timanfaya, showering particles into a layer of dust of up to 2 kilos a square meter.
We made it.
I get frightened here.
And he didn't even spill his beer.
Y el niño sigue durmiendo.
Wow.
Mañana es festivo, ¿no?
During a preparatory period of 10 years, during which numerous earthquakes of medium intensity took place.
Last eruption, 1824.
This eruption commenced close to Hilario's Isle, Volcán Nuevo del Fuego or Chinero, and Timanfaya, its lava streaming out above the layers of those of the 18th century. The principal characteristic of this eruption was the immense fluidity of its lavas, and in particular, the jets of boiling hot salty water which were projected from the craters for several days in the form of enormous geysers reaching heights of 30 meters. Several cavities known as Devil's Chasms remain in one of the craters, through which scientists have descended to a depth of several hundred meters, at which point the opening becomes too narrow and the heat too intense to continue any further.
No.
Smaller so that you can see the bottom of it. Do you know what I'm saying? I get an idea of the size of it.
Sí, sí. Prefiero seguir así, poco. Igual con menos.
At the end of our excursion, we arrive at the islote of Hilario, from which emanations of enormous heat emerge. It is named for a hermit called Hilario, who frequented this islet for 50 years with only a camel to keep him company. According to legend, Hilario planted a fig tree at this spot, which, although taking root, never bore fruit, as the flower could not blossom due to the intense heat of the flames.
Entonces Fuerteventura ahora no tiene gente. Dice, pero esas personas dicen